All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about a piece of medical tech that's, well, it's kind of flipping a core idea completely upside down. It's called Synera, and it's all about rethinking the good old hospital alarm.
I mean, that sounds like a riddle, right? But that one question, it cuts straight to the heart of this massive problem that hospitals are facing today. It forces you to stop thinking about just making more noise and start thinking about how to add some real intelligence to the system. Okay, so to really get why a quiet alarm could be so revolutionary, you first have to understand the problem it's built to fix. And that problem, it has a name. It's called alert fatigue.
You know what it's like, right? A car alarm goes off in a parking lot. The first time, maybe you look. But after the 10th time, you completely ignore it. It's just noise. Well, imagine that's your job. But instead of car alarms, it's medical alarms. That's exactly what's happening to doctors and nurses. Some studies show that something like 95% of hospital alarms are basically false positives. So when everything is beeping and screaming all the time, people naturally start to tune it out. And that is so dangerous when a real emergency is buried in all that noise.
So you end up with this really dangerous gap. On one hand, you've got these monitors that are just crying wolf constantly, beeping over every tiny, totally normal change. And on the other hand, you've got nurses doing manual checks, but those might only happen every few hours. That's a huge window of time where a patient could be quietly deteriorating and nobody would know.
And that's exactly where Synera is designed to fit in. It's meant to be this intelligent safety net that exists right in that gap, between all the useless noise and the moments where there's just not enough signal.
So Synera isn't just another beeping machine. They call it an early attention intelligence layer. What I think is so cool about that is the keyword layer. It sits on top of things. And the real magic is in something they call motion context. See, it's not just asking the simple question, what are the vitals? It's asking a much smarter question. Are these vitals normal for what this person is doing right now? That's a game changer.
And how it works is actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, a simple wristband collects all the data. Vitals, motion, the whole deal. Step 2, the AI brain gets to work analyzing it all, basically checking if the heart rate makes sense for the amount of movement. And then, step 3, the most important part, it prioritizes. It only sends an alert for the stuff that's truly weird, the changes that just can't be explained by normal activity.
Okay, so that all sounds great on paper, right? But what does it actually look like in a busy, chaotic hospital? Let's walk through 3 really common scenarios to see how this thing actually performs.
All right, scenario 1, super simple, happens 100 times a day. A patient just gets up to walk to the bathroom. And of course, when you get up and walk, your heart rate is going to climb a bit. That's normal.
And boom, right here you see the difference. A traditional monitor, it just sees a number go up, say 115 BPM, and it screams, another false alarm. But Synera, it sees the 115 BPM, but it also sees the patient is walking. It puts 2 and 2 together and goes, oh, that's totally normal. So, no alarm, no interruption, no adding to the noise.
Okay, let's move on to the really critical scenario. I mean, this is the one that every nurse, every doctor worries about. A patient is just resting in bed, seemingly fine, but under the surface, things are starting to go wrong.
And this is where Synera really proves its worth. A standard monitor might stay silent because, hey, the numbers haven't technically crossed some arbitrary red line yet. But Synera's AI is smarter. It sees a trend. It sees that the patient's heart is working harder and harder while they're doing absolutely nothing. That mismatch is a massive red flag. And that's when Synera sends a real, urgent alert. It's about catching the problem before it becomes a full-blown crisis.
All right, last scenario, and this one's about a simple technical glitch that happens all the time. A patient just rolls over and the wrist sensor gets knocked around for a second. What happens? A regular monitor sees a totally impossible number pop up, like 220 BPM, and it just freaks out, another blaring alarm. But the logic inside Synera is smart enough to know that a human heart doesn't just jump from 70 to 220 in an instant. It recognizes that number for what it is, a glitch, a bad reading, and it just throws it out. Simple as that. One less false alarm to deal with.
So when you look at these examples, you start to see that this isn't just a tool for one specific part of the hospital. Its potential is way bigger.
I mean, think about it. It could be that perfect safety net for someone who's just come out of the ICU and is on a general ward, or for monitoring someone after surgery, or even in long-term care homes, so you can keep an eye on residents without them being hooked up to a bunch of wires. You could even imagine using it in a packed emergency room to make sure you don't miss someone quietly getting sicker while they're waiting.
But, we have to be realistic. No new technology is perfect right out of the box. So to really understand it, we've got to look at both sides, the amazing promise and some of the real-world challenges it's going to face.
The upside is pretty obvious, right? It could crush alert fatigue, it's super easy on the patient, and it seems like it would fit right into how hospitals already work. But there are definitely some cons. The sensors you wear on your wrist, they have their limits. Getting an accurate blood pressure reading is notoriously difficult. And then there's maybe the biggest hurdle, the human one. You have to get doctors and nurses to actually trust what this AI black box is telling them. And that kind of trust, it has to be earned over time, by being right again and again.
And I think this quote just nails it. The point here isn't to replace a doctor or a nurse, not at all. It's about giving them a superpower. It's a tool that helps them triage. It tells them exactly where they need to focus their skills and attention at any given moment.
It's a really powerful thought, isn't it? A system that's at its best when it's completely invisible, just quietly watching over patients in the background. Which kind of leaves us with this big, fascinating question for the future of medicine. As this kind of smart, invisible AI becomes more and more common, just how close can we get to making patient care, well, invincible? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.